Most men over 40 have no idea that their lungs and blood markers are quietly shaping how sharp their brain will be in 10 years. And this new study just revealed how. If you're a man over 40, you've probably felt it. Names slip your mind. You walk into a room and forget why. You open a work email and it feels harder to focus than it used to. Now here's the big question. Is this just getting older, or is it something you can actually control? A brand new study published in 2025 in Scientific Reports looked at how your cardiorespiratory fitness and your cardiometabolic health are linked to different parts of your thinking, like memory, processing speed, and executive function, in older adults, and the results are very clear. The way you treat your heart, blood vessels, and metabolism today can shape how sharp your brain stays in the coming decades. In this video, I'm going to translate this new science into simple, practical steps you can apply right now, as a man over 40, to protect both your heart and your brain. We'll cover what this 2025 study actually found about fitness, metabolism, and thinking. Why cardiorespiratory fitness seems to protect the CEO of your brain, your executive function, and processing speed. How cardiometabolic health is linked to your verbal memory and accumulated knowledge. And finally, a clear 30-day action plan to boost both your cardiovascular and cognitive health. So if you want to stay sharp, independent, and in control after 40, stick with me until the end. Before we dive into the new study, let's quickly set the stage with what science already knew. First, aging and cognition. The authors of the study summarize it very clearly. Healthy aging is associated with structural and functional changes in the brain, as well as subtle declines in a range of cognitive abilities. Processing speed, executive function, and to a lesser degree verbal memory are especially sensitive to aging. In other words, as we get older, the brain physically changes, and some abilities, especially how fast we process information and how well we manage complex tasks, tend to slow down. Second, cardiometabolic health. The study explains that cardiometabolic health reflects vascular and metabolic integrity and is commonly indexed using composite risk scores, such as the Framingham Risk Score and the Metabolic Syndrome Criteria, Kałamała et al. 2025. Poor cardiometabolic health, things like high blood pressure, high triglycerides, low HDL cholesterol, elevated blood sugar, and excess body weight, is linked to a higher risk of cardiovascular disease and also vascular dementia. As the authors note, low cardiometabolic health is associated with increased risk of cardiovascular and associated diseases and greater risk of vascular dementia. Third, cardiorespiratory fitness, or CRF. CRF is basically how well your heart, lungs, and circulation can support sustained physical activity. The study states, cardiorespiratory fitness reflects the body's capacity to perform sustained physical work, can be reliably estimated using non-exercise algorithms, which combine age, sex, BMI, resting heart rate, and self-reported physical activity. We also know from previous research that CRF tends to drop as we age. On average, cardiorespiratory fitness declines by approximately 8 to 10% per decade in healthy adults, with reductions of up to 50% by age 80 relative to midlife. Kałamała et al. 2025. And that's a problem because a large body of evidence has already linked lower CRF and poorer cardiometabolic health to worse thinking and higher dementia risk. For example, this 2025 paper summarizes prior work like this. Low cardiorespiratory fitness is consistently linked to poorer performance in fluid cognitive domains. Higher cardiorespiratory fitness is associated with better cognitive outcomes longitudinally. Low cardiometabolic health is associated with poorer performance in executive functions, processing speed, and verbal memory. But here's the key. Until now, most studies mix these ideas together. They didn't clearly separate what's specifically related to fitness versus what's specifically related to metabolic and vascular health. That's the gap this 2025 study tried to close. Now let's talk about the new 2020 study in Scientific Reports, titled Cardiorespiratory Fitness and Cardiometabolic Health are associated with distinct cognitive domains in cognitively healthy older adults. The researchers looked at older adults who were cognitively healthy, and they measured cardiorespiratory fitness using a non-exercise estimate, cardiometabolic health using things like blood pressure, blood lipids, glucose, and body mass index, and four cognitive domains. 1. Executive function. 2. Processing speed. 3. Crystallized ability, your accumulated knowledge, vocabulary, education. 4. Verbal memory. Then they used a statistical approach called structural equation modeling to see which aspects of cardiovascular health predicted which cognitive skills. Here's what they found, and this is where it gets really interesting for you as a man over 40. 1. Cardiorespiratory fitness and fast thinking. The study reports the cardiorespiratory fitness factor was positively associated with executive function, VRR 0.36, and processing speed, VRR 0.23, but not with crystallized ability or verbal memory. Kałamała et al. 2025. In plain English, men and women with better cardiorespiratory fitness perform better on tests of executive function, things like planning, decision-making, mental flexibility. They also perform better on processing speed, how quickly you can take in and respond to information. But fitness was not significantly linked to your vocabulary or basic verbal memory in these models. 2. Cardiometabolic health and stored knowledge and memory. On the other hand, when the researchers looked at cardiometabolic health, they found the opposite pattern. The cardiometabolic health factor was weakly but significantly associated with crystallized ability, VRR 2016, and verbal memory, VRR 0.13, but not with executive function or processing speed. Kałamała et al. 2025. So, people with better cardiometabolic profiles, healthier blood pressure, lipids, glucose, and BMI did slightly better on verbal memory and crystallized ability. But cardiometabolic health didn't show a strong relationship with executive function or processing speed in this sample. 3. Double dissociation, two different levers for your brain. The most fascinating part is what happened when both factors, fitness and cardiometabolic health, were entered into the same model. When both factors were entered simultaneously, Model 4, the double dissociation persisted and even strengthened. Kałamała et al. 2025. That means cardiorespiratory fitness was still strongly linked to executive function and processing speed, even after accounting for cardiometabolic health. Cardiometabolic health was still linked to verbal memory and crystallized ability, even after accounting for fitness. So from a practical standpoint, if you want to keep your mental CPU speed and decision-making strong as you age, you should focus on improving and maintaining your cardiorespiratory fitness. If you want to protect your verbal memory and accumulated knowledge, you should also pay close attention to your metabolic health, your blood pressure, lipids, weight, and blood sugar. For men over 40, that's powerful news. It means you have at least two levers you can pull. 1. Moving your body in ways that challenge your heart and lungs. 2. Keeping your metabolic numbers in a healthy range. And both are under your control. Now, why would cardiorespiratory fitness and cardiometabolic health affect different brain skills? The authors discuss a few likely mechanisms, building on previous work they cite. For cardiorespiratory fitness, they point out that maintaining cardiorespiratory fitness preserves cerebral blood flow and vessel elasticity, slowing age-related deterioration in metabolically demanding brain networks, particularly strong in frontal regions that support executive function. Other studies, also summarized in this paper, have shown that higher CRF is linked to greater brain volume in frontal and temporal regions, better white matter microstructure, which basically means healthier wiring between different brain areas. These frontal networks are the ones you use to plan your day, stay on task, switch between tasks, control impulses, and make decisions under pressure. On the cardiometabolic side, the story is a bit different. The authors note that crystallized ability, your vocabulary and accumulated knowledge, is strongly tied to years of education, socioeconomic status, health literacy, Kałamała et al., 2025, refs 61 and 63. And they highlight that lower SES and health literacy are associated with poorer cardiometabolic profiles, suggesting an indirect pathway where better metabolic health reflects higher health literacy and thus higher crystallized ability. Kałamała et al., 2025. In simple terms, people who understand health and have had better access to education and resources tend to both manage their cardiometabolic health better and build more cognitive reserve over a lifetime. So for you as a man over 40, cardiorespiratory fitness seems to help keep the high-demand frontline systems in your brain working well. Cardiometabolic health seems to be linked to the foundations, your stored knowledge and verbal memory, shaped by lifelong habits and education. Both matter, and both can be improved. Let's turn this into clear action steps. Step 1. Protect and improve your cardiorespiratory fitness. The World Health Organization recommends at least 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity aerobic activity or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity activity for adults, including those over 40, WHO 2020 physical activity guidelines. For men 40 plus, that can look like brisk walking 30 minutes 5 times per week, or cycling, swimming, or jogging 3 to 4 times per week, or intervals, short bursts where your breathing gets challenged, followed by easier recovery. In the 2025 study, the participants actually had quite high levels of movement. On average, they did about 1.5 hours per day of moderate to vigorous physical activity, and this had the strongest loading on the cardiorespiratory fitness factor, VE series 0.63 in their model. You don't need to start there, but you can work up to at least 30 minutes per day of intentional movement where you can still talk, but not sing. That's a good sign you're working at a moderate intensity. For many of you, a simple rule is, most days of the week, do something that makes you breathe heavier and sweat a bit. Step 2, get serious about your cardiometabolic numbers. The American Heart Association recommends blood pressure below 130/80 mg, fasting blood glucose below 100 mg/dl, triglycerides below 150 mg/dl, HDL cholesterol above 40 mg/dl in men, and ideally 60 mg/dl or higher for protection, ASJ 2024 guidelines. In the 2025 study, body mass index, BMI, loaded strongly onto the cardiometabolic health factor, V or 0.68, meaning weight and body composition were a key part of the metabolic picture. Kałamała et al., 2025. As a man over 40 in the U.S., here's what you can do. Get a basic blood panel and blood pressure check at least once a year. If your numbers are off, work with your doctor to build a plan that may include lifestyle changes and, if needed, medication. From a lifestyle point of view, one of the best supported approaches is a Mediterranean-style diet. Lots of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, beans, nuts, olive oil, moderate fish and poultry, very little processed meat, refined sugar, and trans fats. This type of diet has been linked to better cardiometabolic profiles and lower risk of cognitive decline in multiple large studies. Step 3, build daily habits that protect both heart and brain. A few key habits make a huge difference. Sleep, aim for 7-9 hours per night. Poor sleep is linked to worse cardiometabolic health and weaker cognitive performance. Strength training. At least 2 days per week of resistance training, body weight, dumbbells, machines. This helps control blood sugar, maintain muscle, and supports healthy weight. Brain challenges. Because this study showed that different cognitive domains are affected differently, it also makes sense to train your brain. For executive function and processing speed, strategy-based games, learning new skills, time-pressured tasks. For crystallized ability and verbal memory, reading nonfiction, learning new words, engaging in meaningful discussions. As the authors conclude, these findings support a healthy aging framework that emphasizes prevention and lifestyle-based health promotion. Different strategies may confer distinct cognitive benefits. Translation: your lifestyle is not just about living longer. It's about keeping your mind performing at a high level as you age. To make this real, here's a 30-day Fit Brain challenge you can start today. Move daily. At least 30 minutes of moderate intensity movement, 5 days per week. Measure weekly. Once a week, record your weight, your blood pressure, if you have a home cuff, and how many minutes of exercise you did. Train your brain. 10 minutes per day of a brain-demanding activity, strategy game, learning something new, or focused problem solving. Do this for 30 days and notice your energy, your mood, your mental sharpness at work and at home. You don't have to be perfect, just be consistent. Let's wrap this up. This 2025 study in Scientific Reports showed something crucial for all of us men over 40. Cardiorespiratory fitness is strongly linked to better executive function and processing speed. Your ability to think fast, plan, and make good decisions. Cardiometabolic health is linked to verbal memory and crystallized ability, the knowledge and skills you've built over a lifetime. Together, these two levers, fitness and metabolic health, give you real control over how your brain ages. You don't have to accept slowing down as your destiny. You can move more, eat smarter, sleep better, challenge your brain, and by doing that, you're not just protecting your heart, you're protecting your mind, your independence, and your identity as a man. If you found this helpful and you're a man over 40 who wants science-based strategies to stay in your prime, here's what to do next. Subscribe to this channel, Prime Health Over 40, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next breakdown of cutting-edge health research. Drop a comment below. Tell me your age and what you're currently doing for your heart and brain health. I read the comments and use them to plan future videos. Share this video with one friend over 40 who you don't want to see decline before his time. In upcoming videos, I'll be diving into new studies on exercise, sleep, hormones, nutrition, and brain health, all translated into clear, practical steps for men over 40. Thanks for watching. Take care of your heart, and your brain will thank you for decades to come.